Hello, Jason here from Infamous Aero. Today we want to show you just some tips and tricks on fitting specifically our Mustang widebody kit onto your Mustang, but the general tips and tricks work for pretty much any widebody install. Surprise, surprise, step one of fitting your kit is seeing if your kit fits. With a lot of cheaper aftermarket parts, this might be a big problem where you'll see some major issues. We're familiar with our products. We designed them to fit well. That being said, fiberglass is still a handmade product, and these cars were made kind of poorly. So there's gonna be slight deviances between just every car on a case-to-case basis. So always mock up your kit and just see what's working and what isn't. So in our case here, you can see something isn't quite right. The kit's sitting here with just two pieces of tape. So it's by no means secured, but there's a bit of a finger's width gap down here. And if you follow along this rail, you can see that it's tight here and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So that tells me that something in the middle here is kind of pushing the middle of this kit out. And if you look underneath, I suspect the issue is right here, where you can see there's a gap here, but here it's touching in just a very specific spot. So I'm going to take a sander to this, just adjust it back just a little bit. It's probably best to do it 2 or 3 times. It's better, it's easier to remove material than to add material. And then we'll see how that goes after. With the quarter panel off, you want to take a look at the area that was kind of the problem area. In this case, I don't believe it is our widebody kit's fault or the car's fault. I think it's my fault for when I cut and welded and bashed this fender out for clearance. I think this got a little crumpled and pushed outward a little bit, and that's why it's interfering. And you can just see it's kind of lumpy and weird, but no big deal. Fiberglass is easy to sand, and with any fiberglass kit, it's kind of expected that you need to do these little minor trimming and adjustments to make everything fit just perfectly. Okay, so yeah, just spent the last, 15 or 20 minutes just fine trimming stuff. I ended up trimming this corner a little bit, spot mentioned before, and then along the scoop here as well. But as you can see, a little bit of adjustment goes a long way. So this rail is now even now. There's still a bit of a gap here, but that's hardware or whatever. The install will take care of that, no problem. But that goes to show that I only took a couple millimeters off in each zone, and a little bit of adjustment goes a long way as far as making your panel fit right. So now that it's fitting good, we can start marking out locations and drilling holes. These pilot holes will be the pilot holes for your rivet nuts in the future if you're bolting your kit. It's a good idea now to just mark out aesthetically where you want your bolts to be. I just did these in the green markers here. Some people like more hardware, some people like as few as you can possibly put on. I think this kit can have a lot less hardware than this. I'm probably going to end up drilling more holes than what's shown here just because I'm molding it, and I'm going to use the screws as clamps to set the gap right for the panel gap. But yeah. Now, when you start drilling your holes for this kit, especially, again, if you're using these holes as your mounting holes, it is really important which one you pick to do first. You don't want to just start in the middle of the panel. You want to look at your kit, and you want to look at your car, and you want to see where the most important spot for alignment is. In this case, it's this rear corner right here. You see there's lots of angles, lots of features for the kit to align to. So this will be our pivot, this will be our datum, and then we'll do the rest of them after we do the first one, set the kit in the right spot. So with your important locating hole drilled in, you can start removing the tape now, at least close. This is only held on by 2 pieces of tape, but you can take this one off now. Some people would think logically to just go from one end to the other. Usually that's a pretty good rule of thumb. In our case though, something is whack with my quarter panel, and there's still that little bit of a gap here and a gap here, and you can see with just a little bit of pushing, I'm not putting much weight into it at all. It lines everything up. So in this case, I want to set either this one or this one first. So, like I said, give this a little push, and then we'll drill this one. Okay, so this one's secured. This is our data point. This one has been moved, and now that's resecured. Take a look around the car now. Look at all your gaps. Everything looks pretty good. There's still a bit of a gap here. So that tells me that this will be the next hole I want to drill. So I've got the final gap closed up. I'm going to do one more inspection of the whole thing. All the gaps are great. All the alignment is good. So at this point, it doesn't really matter which screws you do next, but I'm just going to go in a sequential thing. I'm just going to start from here and just move my way around. So I put these markings here just to give you guys an idea of where would be good bolting hole locations. Since I'm molding the kit, I want a bit of a smoother transition between the door and this panel. So I think I'm gonna cut the kit off around there, just so I have more space to blend it in flat so it's flush with the door. So in my case, I'm gonna put my screws further back than I showed you initially. Okay, so now that the rear is installed, I'm gonna do the front fenders on the same side. The front fender is a little bit of a trickier one to align, just because it doesn't have much geometric strength to it. It's a relatively flat panel, so it flops around and it flexes in a lot of weird ways. And because there's no geometric strength, there's no like crazy curves or anything, the strength in this panel comes from pre-tensioning it into the right position. So you'll see here, I've got the back here pretty much aligned. And this kicks out, that's fine, it folds into place. But if you follow along the rail and go to the front, you'll see that it doesn't actually line up too well right now. That's because this panel is really flattened right now. Once you bolt this in, then you can tweak this and kind of flex it into the right spot. Like again, it takes very little effort. You're not like putting crazy muscle into it. But that slight pre-tension kind of like gives that panel structure. Okay, so I've got the top one, and I just threw one on the bottom here just to line all this up, because this is very clear where this needs to go. This just lines up with the edge of the fender here. This just lines up with the edge of the fender here. So we've got our two datum points secured. And now we'll move over to the front here. And as you can see, you can look at the front here, and it doesn't quite align properly, and that is normal. Again, the strength of this panel comes from the slight little bit of pre-tensioning you have to do. So you just peel this out a little bit, and it lines up perfectly. If you're trying to line this up without any screws, you're gonna feel like you're fighting this edge and this edge the whole time, just because it's all slippery and there's nothing really for the kit to key into, unlike the rear quarter panel. So don't freak out, just trust the process, line up this back corner first, and then this will make sense as soon as that's done. So yeah, so with just 3 screws on, you can see the panel fits incredibly. Like this gap up here is pretty much perfect. These are probably really good bolt locations if you're bolting the kit on, but I'm molding it, so I actually shouldn't have put this here. Just like the rear, I'm probably gonna cut this kit off around there so I have more space to blend the kit to be flush with the door. So I'm gonna throw some more screws in spots that work for me. Once you have your panel fitted properly, before you're ready to bond it, just make sure everything else fits right. I tested the front bumper caps and the side skirts. Everything fits good. And the next step is to just give a little outline around where the panel mounts. The fender was gonna have to be ground down to bare metal, because that's what panel bond wants to stick to best. So this line is just a good guide once the fender is off of where to grind to. You want to go a little bit past the line just so you have a little bit of extra space for it to spread and smear and fuse together, but you don't want to like accidentally take this all the way to here or miss, you know, like it's just a nice little reference line to just grind about a 1.5 to 2 inch strip along this entire line. Okay, so everything's prepped for bonding. The rear quarter panel has 1 inch of bare metal where the bonding seam is, and then we've also prepped the glass, about 1 inch of it as well, in 36 grit. For this kit in particular, it is very important to bolt the gas cap hinge onto the quarter panel before you install it. It's extra important if you're molding the kit on like I am, because you cannot unbolt this. So after the wide body is bonded on with the panel bond, wait for it to set according to manufacturer dry times, and then you can take the screws out and then start blending it into your existing panel. I use a fiberglass filler first, just to like get most of the shaping and the structural stuff done, and then I skim coated the whole area with regular body filler, and then you just block it out and just blend it in. The nice thing about molding a panel is you can play with the styling a little bit to cater to your own tastes. You can see here, the original panel had a body line here, and I kind of blended that out first. And then same with up here, I kind of filled the front edge of the fender to blend the tip into the stock fender more, so that the wide arch kind of starts in the middle of the panel, more like a, I don't know, it reminds me of Evo 7, but yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through how to reverse mount a panel. I'll be focusing on this tiny little front bumper cap here, but the same thing can be applied for any panel on any kit pretty much. One thing worth noting about reverse mounting is what's behind the panel. So like a reverse mounted kit is pretty clean visually after it's installed, but they're the most difficult wide body kits to like take on and off by far, just because you have to bolt it from the inside of the car. On this bumper, it's not too big of a deal. Full access right here. Front fender isn't too big of a deal too. Again, the fender liner out, full access all the way in the back. Rear quarter panels, they get really tricky. There's a lot of double walls, fuel filler necks, lots of times like ABS modules, speaker stuff, sound systems, whatever, those are all hidden and tucked away in the rear quarter panel. So be very mindful of where you're selecting to put your reverse mount studs, because you're gonna need to be able to access it at the end. We'll be using these specific reverse mount studs that we sell here. You can get them, I don't know, from specialty hardware stores. They're around. They're not the easiest thing to find, but yeah, these will be bonded to the back side of the panel, and then they'll have a nice built-in stud so that you can thread a bolt on from the back. Okay, so the first step in mounting a reverse mount panel is the same as the other ones. Make sure it fits good, make sure all the edges are good, all the gaps are good. You want it to be mocked up pretty much in the exact position and spacing and gaps that the final product will be. In this case, I just held it on with tape. You can see this corner stuck out a little bit, but it's just the way the panel sits, like with pretty much no force, it closes that gap. But that being said, because there's a little bit of tension here, that would be a great spot to put my first reverse mount stud. One of the most difficult parts of reverse mount installs, besides the actual installation itself, is locating the hole on the base panel. Like, you're going to bond this stud onto the wide body panel, and obviously the stud has to go through a hole, and marking that hole can be sometimes quite difficult if you don't have a lot of forethought when you're doing it. So what I like to do, pick the area where you want the reverse mount to be. I'm going to want it to be right here, but obviously facing the other way. And you're going to want to drill through both panels. Most important thing when drilling your locating holes through both panels, to make sure the drill bit is perpendicular to the angle of the panel. So you can see this panel is kind of skewed this way a little bit, so you don't want your drill 90 degrees to the car. You want it 90 degrees to the panel. This is because when the stud is bonded on, the stud is going to sit at the same angle that the panel is at. So if you drilled straight through, your hole would be somewhere here. Once you have that stud there, you can see that no longer lines up. Sure nothing's shifted, and then drill through the second panel. And then I'm just going to select my second spot as well. I think I'm going to put the second one right here. Now that the holes are drilled in both the wide body panel and the base panel, these holes now also double as a nice spot just to see roughly where it goes. You're going to need to rough this area up with very rough grit, like 36 grit, to make sure the adhesive of your choice has a good mechanical bond. And then check for evenness and flatness. You don't want this to be able to rock at all. This is nice and flush on the panel. Fiberglass can be kind of irregular sometimes. And before you glue, make sure you rough up the backside of the stud as well. One extra step I like to do is just outlining this, just so I know where to put adhesive, and when I go to actually plop this on, obviously it covers the hole, so I'll be able to know roughly if it's in the right area according to these holes. So there's 3 lines here, they meet in the middle. Just kind of look for that triangle through the back side. You can see the 3 lines converging, so that's centered. Just trace a little outline. Once the fiberglass panel is roughed up and your studs are roughed up and you've got your locations marked, it's ready to glue. Again, you can use the adhesive of your choice. I'd recommend a panel bonding adhesive designed specifically for this application. In my case, I'm just using Flox. This is something that not most people will have on hand. It's what we have on hand because it's an essential part of making fiberglass panels, structural adhesive and bridging agent. I just know it'll work fine in this application, especially with such a small, low-stress panel. I'm just too lazy to mix up more panel bond, get gun and tube set up and whatnot. But yeah, one more quick note before you start bonding. I'd recommend taping up the backside of these holes so it doesn't ooze out and ruin your life. Follow your panel bond or adhesive of choice's recommended procedures, but I like typically adding a little bit of goop to the part. And a little bit of goop to the studs. It's like icing a shitty cake. And then now you can see here with those locating circles that I put, it's very easy to just put this more or less in the same spot as it was. And what you're looking for here is that you have enough adhesive that it goops out of those holes. Those holes will provide mechanical locking so that the bond doesn't fail and the stud can't rip out. Once your adhesive of choice has fully set, all you have to do now is drill your pilot holes out bigger. Yeah, if everything went smoothly in the previous steps, it should just pop in. You're good.